Howler is coming in a few days time, so in this video, we're gonna review her kit, understand what she does, and whether or not she's worth pulling. So I'm just gonna start off by saying that she is gonna be standard in 6 months time, so her value for pulling definitely decreases. But anyways, let's go through her kit. So she's a fire debuffer and she can debuff both single target as well as AoE, and she's better for characters that do fire damage or characters that do follow-up damage. So characters like Frostgale Mont and the upcoming Chinese New Year Rin, those are very good characters to pair with Howler. So let's look at her A0 first. So when you have Warm Welcome or Furious Pursuit, these two things you get from using skill 1 and skill 2 respectively, you unlock skill 3. Hopefully they don't change the name of skill 3. Go Go Woof Woof Ru is a fire name. But yeah, after using skill 3, there's a 60% chance to decrease the healing received of the target, as well as decreasing defense by 18% for 2 turns. For her skill 1, it's an AoE fire damage move that decreases defense. So it's an AoE debuff move, and then if you use a fire attack to attack the ones that's debuffed by skill 1, you debuff even more defense. If you're pairing her with An's attacks will do more damage because there's more defense debuff. And then you also have a chance of burning the target, and then you gain Warm Welcome. One thing to note is that the defense debuff doesn't stack with the skill 2, unfortunately. And speaking of skill 2, it's a single target fire move that debuffs more defense compared to the skill 1, which is AoE. Which makes sense because skill 2 is only a single target move, right? And then you gain Furious Pursuit, which is the stack needed to activate skill 3 also. And skill 2's defense debuff cannot stack with skill 1 as well, unfortunately. So that means you can do like a skill 1, skill 2 rotation to stack the defense debuff. That's not how it works. For skill 3, it only activates when you have either Warm Welcome or Furious Pursuit, where you get from skill 1 or skill 2. But at A0, you can only trigger one of these effects, which means that you cannot get both the skill 1 and skill 2 stack, and then use skill 3 to use both stacks. You can only choose one. So that means in the rotation, you can only use a skill 1 or a skill 2. So it depends on your DPS. If you're using AoE DPS, obviously you use skill 1. If you use a single target DPS, obviously you use a skill 2. Then when you spend the Warm Welcome or Furious Pursuit stack, you can trigger the following effects. So for Warm Welcome, you will increase damage taken by 41%, which is a pretty good number, and it will increase fire damage taken by 20.5%. So even better for fire damage dealers. For Furious Pursuit, this one will also increase damage taken by 58.6%, which is a very solid number, and increase even more damage if it's a follow-up attack. Like I already said, Howler is going to be even better for fire DPS and follow-up DPS. But even excluding those two, she's still a pretty good debuffer, because some of the debuffs still apply to a general DPS. For a highlight, it's an AoE attack, and you'll get 2 stacks of Big Bang. You spend 1 stack when the foe takes a follow-up attack or a fire attack, and then it will increase the damage of that attack for 2 turns. So this highlight definitely reminds me a bit of Rin's highlight, where you consume a stack after you do damage. For her passive, she increases her own attack by 60% based on her element accuracy. The other passive is after using a skill to apply debuff, increase own attack by 33%. Then the allies that do fire or follow-up damage will also increase the attack, so making her even better for fire and follow-up attack DPS. So for a 5-star weapon, which I do not have, and I'll put it on screen, it's 36% element accuracy buff, and then when allies use a fire or follow-up attack, you increase the element accuracy even more for 1 turn. Then when you use a skill 3 to trigger the stack from skill 1, which is Warm Welcome, you decrease the defense by 16.6% for 3 turns. Then on the other side is the Furious Pursuit, which is the one you get from skill 2. You decrease even more at 33.3% for 3 turns. It's an overall pretty good weapon. Defense debuff always useful, and having the high element accuracy also makes her easier to reach the cap of 170 at A0. But she is coming to standard, so I wouldn't exactly recommend pulling the weapon, because in 6 months time, she gets added to the standard banner, you can just lose the 50-50 to Howler's weapon. You do have to wait 6 months, unfortunately, but it is what it is. It's a different case for characters, because characters is like a 1 in 9 chance of getting. So if you want to get her, you can get her. Her value is lower because of standard, but I don't know if you, I mean, it's up to you if you want to gamble like 1 in 10 chance or something like that at the time she comes. Now let's go through the awareness. For A1, when you use the skill 3, you will increase fire damage taken and also the full up damage taken, depending on the stack you use, of course, for 2 turns. So this A1 is useless for general DPS, it's only useful for fire and full up attack DPS. For A2, this one is a very good one. The opponents that have the debuff will have increased crit damage taken by 36%. That's a pretty good amount. And also decreased healing received. This one not that relevant, honestly. But crit damage taken 36%, pretty good. At A4, you increase the amount of Big Bad to 4 stacks. So Big Bad, just a reminder, is the stack from the highlight, and then when you remove the stack, you gain a fire damage or block attack buff. At A6, at the start of battle, you get the Warm Welcome and Furious Pursuit stack. So it's the skill 1 and skill 2 stack, which means that you can immediately use the skill 3 on the first turn. And then you extend the debuff from skill 1 and skill 2 by 1 turn. So it debuffs 3 turns instead of 2 turns. What this means is that you can actually use all 3 skills and have 100% uptime for all the skills. Then when you have both the skill 1 and skill 2 stack, skill 3 will debuff even more. So even more fire damage increase and even more follow-up damage increase. And you also trigger both effects of the skill 1 and skill 2 stack. So basically just more debuff. But the only unfortunate thing is that you cannot stack the damage taken increase from skill 1 and from the skill 1 and skill 2. So they just take the highest number. But I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it's just a number like for example, this one is the 41%. Then this one is the 58.6%. So it will take the 58.6%. But I think the follow-up attack damage taken, fire damage taken, that one should stack, because those are different things. So let's go through her cards. So she should have like 2 cards that's like best in slot for her. The first one is going to be Freedom and Defeat. The 2 set effect increases ammo accuracy, 4 set increases fire damage to foes with debuff. So 2 set and 4 set is for her own. So the full Freedom and Defeat set increases the damage your allies will do to opponents with debuff, and 8%. The other good set is gonna be Control and Departure, which I'm sure you guys are already familiar with. I am not sure if which one is I'm not even sure which one is is it this one? Oh yes, it is. No, it's not. But yeah, anyways, you guys know what's Departure Control? The debuff defense when you hit. It's for single target bosses usually. So it's gonna be those 2 sets. The Freedom and Defeat and Departure Control. As for the stats, the substats, you want to focus a lot on the ammo accuracy, because she has a 170% ammo accuracy cap, which is pretty high. That's about the same as I think Vino. And then for the main set, it doesn't really matter which one. You can put like attack or something for her to do a bit more damage, but I think you want to focus more on the substats for ammo accuracy. Then for the star, obviously main stat ammo accuracy. Everything else doesn't matter that much. But ideally, you can focus more on crit rate, crit damage, or like the standard DPS stuff. So she can do a bit more damage, but it's not really that important compared to capping the ammo accuracy. So I'm just gonna give my quick thoughts on her. Okay, let's first talk about like a single target. For single target, she's very good. She debuffs more defense than Vino, but less than Soy. But unlike Soy, Howler can increase damage taken. So if you look at the skill 3, if you look at the single target one, 58.6% damage taken increase. That's also higher than Vino. Vino is only like 18%. So she is definitely better than those two, 100%. And I believe she can debuff up to 110%. I think I did a quick calculation. 110%. Vino can do about like 100, I think. Then Soy can do like 130. So Howler is definitely up there. And like I said, she also increased damage taken. So that's very nice. If you're talking about AoE debuff, she actually debuffs about the same as Futaba skill 1. About 60% if I calculate correctly. And if you pair her with a fire DPS, it increases even more. It goes up to like 80% or something. So it's a very high defense debuff. And definitely higher than Rin also. Rin is only about 50%. Just remember that I am talking about A0R0 Howler, so with the 5-star weapon. So no doubt, currently in Global, she will be the best defense debuffer across all characters, both single target and AoE target, regardless of if it's a fire damage dealer or a full-up damage dealer. She's gonna be the best. And I'm personally more excited to use her for AoE bosses, because we do not have much AoE debuffers. The only one we have is Rin, and Rin is not that good. Even for a cursed team, she is outclassed by the other supports. And for single target team, it's not that bad because we already have Vino and Soy who can debuff a lot already, so she has a little bit of competition there. But for AoE debuffers, not much competition, just Rin. And I guess the Navigators, but you cannot really compete with Navigators because they do their own things. So should you pull Howler? Personally, probably not. Big reason is because she is standard. And then another debuffer, Matoi, is coming as well in like a couple months I think. So her value will decrease a little bit. But We do not know what buffs she is getting because the live stream is tomorrow. There's a good chance that they're gonna buff her like crazy, like what they did with Cherish, because Cherish got like crazy buffs. So I wouldn't be surprised if she gets some crazy buffs, because I have a feeling that they're trying to sell the standard characters to people. So let's go into a little bit of gameplay to show how she works. It's fairly straightforward and simple. I'm just gonna skip to the important stuff. So Howler's rotation is very simple. If you're using a AoE DPS, you use a skill 1 because it's a AoE move, right? So you will debuff everything. If you're using single target DPS, you do a skill 2 to debuff only one target. It's very simple. I am using the Lance Ring because I don't have An. So I apologize if I spoil her or something. So we do a skill 1, just do an AoE damage, the AoE debuff. And since I'm using a fire DPS, she gets even more debuff, because that's how skill 1 works. And you see the animation, it means that the stack, which is called Warm Welcome, is active, which means that you can do a skill 3 next turn. Then now on Howler's turn, you can now do a skill 3. The skill 3 will consume the stack that you get from skill 1 to debuff more stuff. So we just attack. Then you'll get a bunch of the debuffs here. So the Go Go Woof Woof rule. So one is a general debuff, the other one is specific to fire damage. So I'll show you how she works for single target. Very simple also. Instead of a 1-3-1-0 rotation, single target becomes 2-3-2-3. So you use this to debuff a single target. Then now Howler's turn, you do a skill 3. So I think I forgot to mention, but skill 3 becomes single target. So depending on the stack you get from skill 1 or skill 2, you will change the skill 3. So skill 3 becomes single target move, debuff, and buff even more damage for follow-up attacks.